NHL and NBA are heating up in the final week of their regular seasons. We have the MLB in full swing. This is episode 138 of The Next Best Bet. I'm Jake Higgins with Brett Levy, as always, looking into how we did in episode 137 before we talk about Thursday's picks and this episode's picks. Brett, looking at my record on the year, I have officially passed over 100 wins on the season. I'm 102, 99, and 5. That 5 is those pushes or cancellations that we've had in games, and I got one in episode 137 with the Giants-Rockies game. But overall, I had a pretty good episode going 4-1, including my pick of the pod winning.
There you go, Higgins. And yeah, you like to see you over 100 victories on the year. I set the over-under at how long you'll keep the 99 losses at 0.5. We both took the over on that. We think you're going to make it to the next episode, Higgins. You're going to be perfect here.
I'm going to try my best. Episode 137 did give me a good opportunity, though, to finish April strong, or start May strong, rather, actually. But I did take the time to look at how we did in our Aprils, Brett, and I will go into the Beginner's Boulevard tournament a little bit, but I held my own. I went 30 and 32 and 1, was up just over 2 units for the month. My MLB is what kept me strong. Your MLB is what won a lot for you, Brett, but you slaughtered April, going 23 and 14, winning nearly 14 units with a 10 and 3 record in baseball.
It was a good month, Higgins. We're not going to complain. Again, you got to celebrate the highs because the lows, they happen. Last episode 137, went 1 and 2. Gave a little back to the buck. But yeah, it was a great April, Higgins. Certainly not going to complain at all.
And I did already mention our Beginner's Boulevard term of hold your own. I held my own in April, and that basically just means I didn't go on a big win or losing streak for the month of April. I just held my own. I broke about even. I was up two units on the month, went 30 and 32. So while it's nothing to take home or cash out at the bank with, really, I mean, you're not depositing more at the book, and that's what matters.
Yeah, Higgins, I would give you a little more credit. I'd say up 2.34 units over a month. You're going to be very happy with that. But yeah, holding your own just means basically staying even, fighting it, hanging in there, nothing to lose, nothing to win. Just, staying right around even, exactly.
It's easy for you to talk humbly from your 14-unit month of an ivory tower, sir.
No, man. We just look at gambling different, man. Like, if I'm at the blackjack table on a Friday night in Vegas, right, and I lose $100, you know what, Higgins? I'm okay because my entertainment cost in Vegas on a Friday night probably $100. So, like, I could be down money and still look at it like, hey, maybe we broke even tonight. It's not the end of the world. Versus like being up 2 units and spending a Friday night in Vegas, I'd be like, holy shit, man, I made money on my night out. What a fucking treat.
Hey, I agree with you there entirely, 100%. A push is always a win. I mean,
Oh,
being up 2
absolutely.
units,
Yeah.
that's a slight win. That's not quite a push. I did have a push in episode 137 because of the cancel game or the postponed game. But I see those as wins. I just, in terms of providing value, I'm saying the plus 2 units on a month. You wish you could be better. You wish you could be up at that 14 units that you're on for the month of April. But we're going to go into May strong. I went 4-1-1 into May strong. You're 1-2, but we're going to bounce back here in episode 138. And jumping into the NBA, Brett, we have 4 lines on Wednesday night looking at Thursday's games. The Thunder versus the Warriors, the Lakers at the Clippers, the Nets at the Mavs, and the Wizards versus the Raptors. Now, I'm very intrigued with this LA matchup, Brett, mainly because the Clippers, they haven't really had any of their guys going off or being the guy that is creating these large leads for the Clippers. You look at their playing recently, they played against the Raptors, who they should have probably played and won rather handedly over. It was a 105-100 game where much of that fourth quarter, Kawhi really wasn't there much. He was on the floor, but he wasn't shooting. Paul George was shooting but wasn't necessarily draining everything. I expect, even though the Lakers are going to be without LeBron and his ankle maybe until the playoffs, that the Lakers are still going to try to build some momentum going into the playoffs here without LeBron. So AD potentially being on the floor, he's still listed as day to day. We'll see. He'll probably play though. I expect him and Drummond to be able to take on Zubac no problem, and it's just can you contain Paul George and Kawhi when neither of them have been playing necessarily as outstanding as you would expect. So I think crosstown rivalry, 8 point spread, that's too big for me. Give me the Lakers.
Yeah, 8 point spread's big, Higgins. I guess what concerns me, no LeBron, no Schroeder. Um, if Kawhi and Paul George are out there, they probably have the best and the third best player on the court because the AD is probably the second best player on the court. But
Yes.
I would lean Clippers, but I'm not gonna bet this one until I know the lineups are locked for sure, Higgins. But I like what you're saying. I do think this game will have a lot of intensity. And Higgins, don't look now, but if the Lakers are the 7th seed, this could be a first round matchup, Higgins.
Little research by LeBron taking some notes on the sidelines, maybe.
Maybe. But one game I'm interested in, Higgins, maybe not a potential finals matchup. That might be jumping the gun here a little bit. But the Nets take on the Mavericks on Thursday night, Higgins. The Nets with only the pairing of Katie and Kyrie. So no James Harden. Even before the James Harden trade in the games that they were able to play together this year, the Nets are 7-8 or 8-9. I misplaced the stat, excuse me, but either way, they're one game below 500, Higgins, and that's the important part of the stat that I'm giving out. So they travel to go face Luka Doncic in the Mavs, who we mentioned that the Lakers are in contention for the 7th spot. Well, so are the Dallas Mavericks, so are the Portland Trailblazers. All these teams need to win basketball games, Higgins. And I think the Dallas Mavericks are going to be locked and loaded for the big bad Nets coming to town. They're getting 4 points on their home court. I'm going to gobble up those 4 points, Higgins.
And the Nets just lost three straight. They've lost back-to-back games against the Bucks. The Mavs, on the other hand, they're 7-3 in their last 10 games. I like your pick here, going with the spread there at +4 as well. Should be a very interesting time seeing Luca on the floor with all those Nets players. I think that'll be a very good matchup. Should be a very entertaining game.
Yeah, and crazy story actually, Higgins, really quick. The Knicks just signed a Luca for themselves to a 4-year deal on Wednesday. So a second Luca is coming into the league. He spells his first name with a C, not a K.
Oh,
So maybe a little bit of a Luca rivalry in the NBA coming.
I'll look forward to that. I'll look forward to that. But Brett, we do have one more NBA pick to give out, don't we?
Yeah, we do. I'm going to be on the Wizards Raptors game as well, Higgins. The Wizards are dogs. They're fighting for playoff seeding. The Raptors are dead in the water, Higgins. And for some reason, they're the favorites. I guess it's because the Washington Wizards are traveling on a back to back. But I'm not buying it. My guy Russell Westbrook is the energy bunny, Higgins. My guy Bradley Beal is out there getting buckets. So give me the Wizards plus 102 on the money line. Maybe a little bit of a trap, but I'm taking the team that's fighting down the stretch here.
The only thing I would be worried about is the fact that they're playing a tough competitive team like the Bucks. As we're recording this right now, it's 128 to 130 in the final minute of the fourth quarter. Washington's down. But everything you said about the Wizards are right because Russell Westbrook's currently in the middle of a triple double performance right now. Bradley Beal, another 30-point performance. So if those guys are carrying the load, I trust that they're fully capable to do that on back to back nights. I mean, Russell Westbrook did triple doubles on a back to back night for multiple seasons at a time when he was in Oklahoma City. So when it matters, when it's coming down the stretch like this and the games every single one of them matter in terms of seeding, in terms of playoff contention. My money's on Westbrook a lot of the time. I love that pick.
Yeah, Higgins, you mentioned Russell Westbrook. He's been unbelievable again this season. The other night he became well, really, I guess the second player again. The only other player outside of Wilt Chamberlain, and he's done it twice with a 30-point 20. I'm sorry, a 30-point, 20 assist, 20 rebound. It was not 30 points. I had it wrong. He had 14 points, 20 assist, 20 rebound, triple double. The night before he had a 30-point triple double. So that's where I was confused. The guy is getting triple doubles every freaking night in multiple ways. He became the second player again. I'll repeat the stat and I'll do it correctly this time with a 20 rebound, 20 assist triple double. Like, this dude is crazy. He's a point guard, Higgins, doing that.
The last time that Russell Westbrook did that, actually, Brett, was when he put up 20-20-20 shortly after the rapper Nipsey Hussle died, actually. But let's jump out of the NBA and jump into the NHL, Brett, because the NBA has about a full week left. They're playing until next Sunday. The NHL sporadically has games going much longer, but we have some teams that their seasons are ending right around the corner here because some of them only have about 3-4 games left. So Thursday, some of these games are very impactful for some NHL seeding, like the Devils and the Islanders. And Brett, you and I were both on games last episode that involved the Islanders. And unfortunately for you, they were unable to connect against the Sabres, really. So that makes these games more important. The Islanders are back home. They're hosting the Devils, who have already been eliminated from contention. And the Islanders really need this, to be honest. So I'm not going to be surprised if the Islanders win this by multiple goals because they need both points and they need them badly. So it's going to be a blowout, in my opinion. And if you look at how the Islanders have played the Devils, when they've played the Devils at home in New York, the Islanders win by multiple goals. Both times it's happened. Islanders have also mainly won this entire series this season, so I'm taking the Islanders -1.5 at +100 on the puck line.
Yeah, Higgins, you mentioned it. They need this game. But, I thought they needed those ones against the Sabres. So the Islanders scared me off of hockey this episode, Higgins. They were like, you know what? The season's winding down. We're focused on the postseason. I was like, you know what? If that's the attitude you're going to have against the Sabres, I'm done with hockey because you should be rolling over the Sabres with how good your team is and where they are in their season, obviously gunning towards the number one pick. So I don't know, Higgins. It just left such a bad taste in my mouth. I threw out the sport this episode.
Well, it's all about seeding and where you want to be placed in the playoffs right now. The Islanders, they've clinched that the playoff seed from the Eastern Division standings. But right now they're sitting in that 4 seed. They're 1 game behind the Boston Bruins. They're 1 point behind the Boston Bruins. They're 3 points behind the Washington Capitals. So conceivably, the Islanders could try to make a push to get that 3rd or 2nd seed if they want to. But do they want to? I think against the Devils at home, they're going to get the 2 points regardless. What that does for the standings, I'm not so sure because we have the Bruins hosting the Rangers, who are already eliminated from
Yeah,
playoff
they're dead in
contention.
the water too.
And
Their
then we
best
have,
players hurt. Yeah, it was a mess.
and the Penguins are hosting the Sabres. The Penguins are in first in the East Division right now. And the Caps have the night off on Thursday. So I'm taking the Islanders. Maybe they jump up in the division. Maybe not. Maybe they're just going to sit at 4th. Who knows? But I'll give them another chance at -1.5 +100.
Yeah, well, you got to be feeling good about the Sabres going up against the Penguins. I mean, they just took 2 from the Islanders, so hey, there's something in your favor. Yeah, Rangers, they're more worried about fighting the Capitals physically than they are about winning hockey games right now after the whole Tom Wilson Panarin thing. But yeah, I I'm not gonna say I hate that bet, Higgins, but the Islanders burn me bad. So you just don't play with the match that burns you.
I get that. I absolutely get that. Moving on to Friday's picks, because as has become ritual, Brett, I have 3 days worth of NHL picks in this episode.
Of course you do.
And so my pick on Friday is in the Southern Division between the Dallas Stars and the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Lightning have owned this series. They're 5-1 so far in this series this season, and their games at home they have won by multiple goals. Most recently, they won 3-0, and then at the beginning of the season to start the series, they won 5-0 in Tampa. Tampa Bay is in Florida, which allows a lot of fans, just like Dallas does, really. But Tampa Bay has a unique atmosphere with hockey. You wouldn't expect Florida to really care about hockey, but they do in Tampa because this team's successful and they're good. So -1.5 at +160 in Tampa when they've already blown out Dallas twice in Tampa Bay seems like common logic to me. Give me that +160 juice, baby.
Yeah, so Tampa Bay, won big on Wednesday night against Dallas. I am a little curious to see if Dallas has any fight if they bounce back on Friday against the same team. But to your point, Higgins, Tampa Bay's been doing this to Dallas all season, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yes, and if you look at the South Division right now, Dallas is trying to fight for that 4 seed really, but they're 4 points behind the Nashville Predators. The Lightning, they are tied with the Panthers at 75 points apiece. The Lightning have the tiebreakers, having them sitting in second right now, but you have to imagine the Lightning would rather have that second seed than the third seed, so they're going to be fighting ever as hard as they can, even if they can try to catch up to the Hurricanes, who are 4 points ahead of them. I doubt they could do that, but the Lightning -1.5 at +160, I think they're going to eliminate Dallas with this punch, probably.
All right, Higgins. Yeah, it's some interesting notes you just brought up. I will say the Stars did just get Tyler Sagan back, so we'll see if that has any impact. I guess they're 0-2 with him, though, so it has not gone the way they've expected. And then you mentioned the Lightning are fighting with the Panthers. Something I'm very interested in the postseason, Higgins, with the Florida Panthers. Spencer Knight, the standout goalie from the USA Juniors team, leader at BU for a few years. He is on the Panthers roster. I expect him to be on the playoff roster. And it'll be very interesting to see if they go to him between the pipes. He was phenomenal in the Juniors World Cup. So he is a player I am watching. He was a very high draft pick, and he's someone I've got circled. But let's look more near future, Higgins. Let's go to Saturday. My New York Rangers taking on the Bruins, and you've got a pick. And I got to be honest, Higgins, it's already making me upset, but I'm not really that upset. The Rangers, we're done.
Well, so the Rangers, they're finishing their season in Boston. They play on Thursday and then they play on Saturday. But like you said earlier in this episode about how the Rangers are more focused on fighting the Capitals, the way Panarin was put out for the season like that, I think the New York Rangers are just looking to finish their season at this point. Do they come back and show me something against Boston on Thursday that could make me change my mind about this Saturday bet? Maybe. But as of right now, I look at this as Boston has an opportunity to grab 4 free points in their final 4 games right now. They play Boston in both of these games, and then they have 2 games after that, one against the Islanders and one against Washington. 2 games against 2 competitive teams that will very much affect division standings as well. So if they can get 4 free points against the Rangers here, I think they're going to try to do it. So I expect them to win Thursday, and if they do, I'm taking them to win by multiple goals on Saturday because I don't expect the Rangers to come out with a lot of fight if they lose on Thursday as well. So give me Boston Bruins -1.5 at +130 value because the Bruins are really fighting for a lot more here, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Higgins is a person that has been part of, some of these last games of the year type of games. Sure, you'd love to win, but you're really just trying to get out of there healthy. And,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get out of there healthy and quickly. So you'd love to be the team that comes out on top, but it's usually not your A+ lineup out there. And yeah, I could definitely see the Bruins winning this one by multiple goals. I don't imagine it to be the Rangers A team.
Yeah, the over/under set at 5.5 also intrigues me a little bit, but I'm going to stay off of it for right now because it's still sitting at -110 aside. As you and I have said, I do love the over 5.5 value whenever there is some plus value, though. So maybe I'll find myself in that Friday pick that I talked about, where the Stars Lightning at over/under set at a 5.5 with a +110 over. But I'm not going to be on that in this podcast. That might be something I get on a little bit later. Let's jump into some Moneyline Magic, Brett. Tease some baseball before we get into our baseball picks. And we're going to talk about the Rangers versus the Twins on Tuesday. The Twins took a 2-1 lead coming out of the first inning. They grabbed another run in the bottom of the fifth inning to take it to 3-1. And they led for much of this game, but it's why you play all 9 innings, Brett. The top of the ninth inning here. Moneyline Magic wouldn't be Moneyline Magic if something didn't happen near the very end, would it?
Right, exactly. Yeah, the game was 3-1 in the fifth, so Moneyline Magic.
So to start the ninth, Calhoun hits a solo shot to cut that lead to 1, and then the next 3 batters would load the bases, and a sacrifice fly would tie the game, send it to extras after the bottom of the ninth. So now we're in the top of the 10th, Brett, and the Rangers would hit a 2-run shot and then an RBI double to take a 6-3 lead before finishing with a 1-2-3 inning, a double play to end the game, a comeback victory for the Rangers on the road.
Yeah, Adolis Garcia with the 2-run homer. He's been a huge player for the Rangers this year. A guy they got for almost nothing. The Rangers have built a nice scrappy team, Higgins. Nate Lowe's outperformed expectations. Kiner Falefa won a gold glove at third base last year. He's starting at shortstop this year, Higgins. So this team is an interesting team. I don't think anyone had high expectations for them, but they keep fighting and scrapping their way to victories, Higgins. And here you saw them fighting in the ninth. They didn't give up. Calhoun, a former Dodgers prospect, now with the Rangers, he made a big hit to, get the game within striking distance, and then they were able to get Kiner Falefa home. And Garcia, again, got him for almost nothing, hits the big home run in the 10th.
And you mentioned scrappy, which is a perfect word for this Rangers team, I think. And the only caveat to this is the tough AL West that this Rangers team is in, that if for this Texas team to be successful, they're gonna need to be scrappy and steal a lot of wins, I think, unless they're going to end up finding themselves at the bottom of this AL West that has the Athletics, the Mariners, the Astros, and the Angels, who all could make this a very competitive division, I think. The AL West should be very fun to watch, just like the NL West will be between the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks and the Padres and the Giants.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head, Higgins. There's some good baseball going on in the AL West, although we record on Wednesdays, it would be remiss if we didn't mention that the Mariners were no hit today by John Means. So
Oof,
uh
oof.
so maybe the Rangers are better than one team in the AL West. I don't know. Have the Rangers might have been no hit this year too. Was that Musgrove threw a no hitter against them? So I don't know. Maybe we're hyping up the AL West a little too much.
Well, let's get into our picks. But first, today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And be sure to add our podcast in the How Did You Hear About Podgo section of the application. And Brett, we have a very good spread of MLB lines on Thursday, so let's just jump right into them. And one of the ones that I really like is this Brewers Phillies series that we have had so far. to start off. Both of these games have been one-run games. They're playing right now as we do this podcast, and it's a one-run game in the sixth inning, 5-4. And I kind of expect it's gonna stay this competitive. However, the Phillies won the first two. They're leading in the game tonight, but the Brewers have Woodruff on the mound tomorrow. And Woodruff has been the Brewers' ace if it wasn't for Burns. Woodruff has also pitched very well for Milwaukee, and so Milwaukee at minus 120. I like them in a matchup that has Woodruff versus Wheeler. Wheeler is a guy that has a 3.5 ERA compared to the 1.8 that Woodruff's boasting right now. Gives the Brewers bats a little bit of an extra opportunity to get out ahead and give Woodruff a little bit of a lead before the bullpen would come in. So give me Milwaukee. I don't think the Phillies are going to sweep this series.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying about the Brewers pitching. Freddie Peralta's been pretty good. He struggled a little bit on Wednesday. Burns, prior to the IL stint, was unbelievable. I don't know if he's on the IL, but he was scratched from his last start now, so he
He's
missed the
technically
start.
on the IL, but there's rumors he might have COVID. They just can't say that
Gotcha,
unless
gotcha.
the team has to get the player's approval to formally announce that, and that hasn't happened. So he's on the IL for an undisclosed reason right now.
Undisclosed. Got it. Okay, that makes more sense to me because I couldn't remember why he was removed from his last start. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I think you're right. They do have a very formidable 1-2. What is concerning me a little bit about the Brewers, Higgins, is the injuries going to start to mount up? I mean, Christian Yelich is now on his second IL stint. He's only played one game since April 11th. They've lost quite a few other players now. Avisail Garcia has played pretty well in their absence, and a few other guys have stepped up. But like Keston Hura, who we expected to be a big bat in this lineup, he's been nowhere to be found all season. So I am a little concerned. Is it going to all come crashing down for Milwaukee? Like, is there just too much going on? But I think, honestly, where we stand right now in the season, you're making a really smart bet here. The Brewers have just been proving everyone wrong all season long. And to think they're going to get swept in a series is just, I think it's a little naive at this point. I think you're onto something.
And since you mentioned the Yelich injury bug that he has struggled with a little bit, it is good to mention for those fantasy guys out there, Tyrone Taylor, the prospect that has come up to play the outfield with these Brewers injury struggles that they've had in their outfield. Taylor's done pretty well in their wake. He was sent down when Yelich came back healthy from the IL before he was immediately put right back on, and Taylor was brought immediately right back. He was literally in AAA for about 4 days, I think. Maybe 4 days. But he's batting over 300 on the year, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs. If you're in a deep league, maybe check out this guy. Might be worth it. Might be someone that you see rumored during the trade deadline for a team that needs some outfielders where he could be an everyday player even. So you never know.
Yeah, I like that, Higgins. That's a good note there.
I'm
Uh
only saying that because I already picked him up in my league, so I can do that.
oh, okay, there you go. Well, I'm gonna find myself on a game that wasn't listed in New Jersey, but it was listed in Oregon, so
Woo!
thankfully I have a buddy there.
A no
Uh
guy.
yeah, exactly. Blue Jays Athletics. I think the pitchers are gonna be Hyunjin Ryu, who's making his first start off the IL, and Mike Friars, who hasn't been great this year. But I'm not going to back a pitcher coming off the IL, Higgins. That seems too risky for me. So I'm going to take the home team at plus money because usually when you get the extra last licks, there's a little weighted juice on that team. But to get the home team plus money with a good record like the A's, I'm just going to take the pitcher that's been healthy against the pitcher that's coming off the IL. I'm going to take the plus money, and I think it's almost a blind bet situation, Higgins, not so much the teams. I'm just taking the number there.
That makes a lot of sense. Everything that you just said there lines up perfectly. I think the Athletics at plus 115 at home is some great value, especially considering they're at home and You never know if that line could flip by Thursday morning, so take it at the plus odds while you got it. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't trust a pitcher coming off the IL in most situations. We saw George Springer come back from his IL stint. Now, again, these are batters, but he came back from his IL stint. He was immediately one and done again, just like Christian Yelich, who came back from his IL stint, one and back to the IL. So, I don't know, Higgins. I just feel like injuries are up this year across the league, and taking a guy in his first start back, and just something I'm not comfortable with.
It's definitely the safe route to play it, that's for sure. Now, Brett, my next pick here is going to go against you again. You had your issues with me picking against your Rangers when we were talking about the NHL, but you know what? I'm also picking against the Mets. I'm taking the Cardinals on the money line at home. They're underdogs at plus 110 value, and that's part of why I'm taking them because, granted, this is a run line performance, but the Cardinals as an underdog on the run line are 12 and 3. I just don't like the value at minus 155 to get the Cardinals at plus 1.5. So you're going to have me backing John Grant, who's 2-2 on the season, but has an ERA just over 2. And I'm not quite sure who the Mets are going to start. It says Walker here on ESPN, but I'm not quite so sure because DeGrom got scratched. Then you had doubleheaders. And so the Mets, they're a little up in the air with who's going to be on the mound. I'm not quite sure. They just fired their hitting coach as well. Give me the Cardinals underdogs at home. They're 3-1 as money line dogs at home so far this season. I think they're going to make it 4-1.
Yeah, I think it could be Taiwan Walker. To your point, Higgins, but I'm not locking that in yet. And same with John Gant. The double header thing, it threw everything off. Now it's an early game, so you played two yesterday. You got an early game today. They might need a guy that can eat more innings than Gant, who's kind of like he's almost like their stretch guy, like that they they have in there. So it's going to be an interesting game, Higgins. I have no feel for it, but I would definitely say bet against the Mets because they have been disappointing thus far, and I'm a fan, but I'm a pessimist, I guess. So I'm the opposite of a fan. I'm just like a guy that gets really upset every day about the Mets.
The Mets are also winning 7-2 right now as we are recording this, Brett, so they may break a Cardinals 6-game winning streak. Do the Cardinals
Uh,
refocus after that loss against the Mets on Wednesday night and potentially get steal a win on Thursday? I think so. Give me the Cardinals here in this scenario.
All right, I'm not gonna hate it, Higgins. Whatever. You want to bet against my team in May? Fine.
Maybe I should parlay my two bets against your team.
Just like the Brett Misery bet. Okay, fair
The
enough.
against Brett parlay.
Uh, you probably win. My teams don't win very much.
I'm actually pulling this up right now. Let me see what that is. Let me see what that is. We've got that's a Thursday Saturday bet at plus 372.
Nope. God bless you, Higgins. Good luck.
I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to take it. Let's jump into our Levy lock pick of the pod before we get out of here, though, Brett. I won my pick of the pod in my Form 1 run on episode 137. Caught up by a game. You still have a 1-game lead on me, though. Gives me the honors in this scenario, though, and we just talked about it. I'm going with the Brewers money line minus 120. I really like what I've seen from Woodruff this year. I think the Brewers are surprising a lot of people, and I don't expect them to get swept by the Phillies. They've lost the first 3 of this 4-game series. I think Milwaukee will close it out strong and grab one of those and get the win tomorrow.
Yeah, all right, Higgins. I can't say I disagree. I don't think they get swept either. Um, I'm gonna find myself taking an NBA bet here, Higgins. The Wizards take on the Toronto Raptors on Thursday night, and I think the Wizards as dogs on the money line is just disrespectful, Higgins. So I'm taking the Wizards plus 102 on the money line.
Okay, I get that. I love that. The Wizards did end up losing the game on Wednesday night, by the way. They were in the final minutes. We were talking about them earlier. So maybe that adds a little fuel to the fire as they get on the plane tonight to fly to their next destination. I like the money line pick right there at nearly plus 100 odds. We'll have some picks going into the weekend as well before our next episode, Brett. So everybody, make sure to follow us at NBB Pod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel. If you're on TikTok, follow me there as well. I throw out some picks as well at Snake Jigs there. This has been episode 138 of the Next Best Bet. For Brett, I'm Jake. We'll talk to you again after the weekend.